It's probably late in the 90s. We were living in Methuen. But we sat in the car under the cover of darkness. We were parked in the parking lot of a liquor store, just over the state line in Salem. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and inside the car there was a great debate going on between Cindy and me. See, all day long we bumped into people who had something to say about us. It was on the news as well. There was a real buzz in the air. Record Powerball jackpot. Something like $300 million, which I know today is chump change. But even with $300 million today, you could fill your car up and maybe go out for dinner. So after dinner, we decided we would buy a ticket. What we hadn't addressed was, who was we? Who was going to go into the liquor store and buy the lottery ticket? You see, we'd never bought a lottery ticket in our entire lives. But once we got there, neither one of us had the courage to go in. Eventually, we went home. How many of you have had a winning lottery ticket? Don't be embarrassed. Come on. You're among friends. Now, I've never bought a lottery ticket, but I can't tell you how many times I feel like I've won the lottery. Sometime early in March 1958, my journey began before I was even an eye. The statistical odds that anyone should be here are 1 in 10 to the 2,685,000,000. That's a 10 with 206,850,000 after it. Now the odds of winning the lottery, 1 in 300 million. That's considerably better. That you or I are even here is a miracle that makes things like turning water into wine look like child's play. Twice before I was born, my mom had miscarriages. And a few years after I was born, my sister Kathy Sue only lived a month. So if you are alive this very moment, raise your hand if you're alive. Never take for granted that you won the greatest lottery ever held. Being born to Clayton and Phyllis Graham was another huge win for me. Cha-ching. If you have two parents who love you, who believe in you, support you despite the many stupid things you did, parents who taught you about being a good person, not by the words they said, but by the way they lived. Huge win. Meeting Cindy. Major. Cha-ching. Having 3 wonderful children. Enormous cha-ching. Answering a phone call from Walter Flynn 23 years ago that led me to Guilford. Gigantic cha-ching. The late gifted writer Brian Doyle began a prayer near the end of his life with these words: Dear coherent mercy, thanks. Best life ever. I certainly feel the same way. Best life ever. Since it's Father's Day, I think of another big jackpot, our son-in-law James. If I had a short list of the best fathers I've ever known, he would be near the very, very top. It's funny how things work out, though. And I don't know if you remember the first time you met your son-in-law, but I certainly do. Like lots of ornery potential father-in-laws, I wasn't sure what to think. He seemed like a nice guy, but his arms had tattoos. And there were the remnants of a pierced ear hole in his ear. And then there was that ponytail. Now, if your son or son-in-law has a ponytail and pierced ears, I think that's cool. I'm down with it. But not when mine does. I can be a shallow, judgmental son of a gun. What happened was our daughter, who was going to Framingham State College in 2003, called us. She said, there's someone I'd like you to meet. So they came during winter break. Now, we thought she had a boyfriend, but she'd been rather vague. We were on a need-to-know basis, and apparently until then we didn't need to know. Now, like I said, he was awfully nice, but the tattoo, pierced ear, ponytail, not what I had in mind for my little girl. Turns out that James Bannon was the very best thing to ever happen to our daughter. James, if you're watching, you better hit the like button. He is talented beyond belief. He's an extraordinary cook. Taught culinary arts at a high school for 12 years. He's a talented musician, self-taught. He laid the tile in their bathroom. Once he crawled under my car and fixed my muffler. I sometimes wonder if there's anything he can't do. But most importantly, I watch him with my grandsons. He's so patient. The values he instills in them, like respect and kindness and compassion, generosity. Do what you say you're going to do. Love your family. When he graduated from college, he moved back to Southington where his single mom lived and his grandpa, whom he adored, lived. He moved there so he could be close to them. I wish he lived in Guilford. But he teaches his boys to be resilient. When life gets tough, bounce back. Don't complain. A few years ago, I was in the gym with Jaden and Graham and Jax, and they spotted a Segway. You ever been on a Segway? Well, they were elated. Can we use it, Poppy? Can we use it? Of course. We walked over, and it didn't work. And so I said, I'm sorry, guys, but Jaden and Graham spent 15 minutes tinkering on the Segway, and they fixed it, just like their father would have done. James Bannon, mammoth, enormous, cha-ching. It should be illegal. It should be illegal. They should cuff me and take me away to win as often as I have won. Like I said, I've never bought a lottery ticket, but I feel like I've won dozens of times. And I hope each and every one of you feels exactly like I do. I hope you had a great father like I did. And if you didn't, use that as a motivation to be a better father than he was, or a better grandpa. Teach your son it's okay to cry, to love poetry, to clean the house and cook. And teach your girls there's no job they can't aspire to, no door they should be afraid to go through, no challenge they can't overcome. Teach your children by the life you live to treat all people with respect. Let them know that life isn't always fair. We can't control what happens, but we can always control how we respond. And then remind them how privileged they are. And that obligates us to give back, to pay it forward, to live in an other-centered way. Mostly teach them by the way you live, that their life in particular, is an astonishing, astounding gift. That life has slathered all of us with gifts beyond measure. Gifts not to be squandered, but spent in love service. Dear Coherent Mercy, thanks. Best life ever. Repeat it with me. Dear Coherent Mercy, thanks. Best life ever. Amen. And now stand as we close.